and welcome. Thank you for taking the time today to join us in this conversation with these three very successful and driven members of Beta Gamma Sigma. I think it is safe to say that members of Beta Gamma Sigma are overachievers and go-getters. Members of this prestigious honor society that only few have the opportunity to join have demonstrated that they leave no stone unturned when it comes to their academics. More than that, Beta Gamma Sigma members carry that same drive that they demonstrate in the classroom into the real world and in all of their endeavors. I have seen firsthand the attention to detail and professionalism that all Beta Gamma Sigma members have. We all uplift and care for one another, and we do what we can to be positive contributors to society. Before I go any further, first let me introduce myself. My name is Garcia, and I currently serve as the president for FIU's chapter of Beta Gamma Sigma. I also currently serve as the president for the College of Business's Dean Student Advisory Board. I'm a senior here at the College of Business, majoring in finance, and I'm also a part of the Honors College. Today, we have the pleasure of being joined by three wonderful panelists, and of course, all our Beta Gamma Sigma members. We have Dean Hardin, who's the Associate Dean of the Chapman Graduate School of Business. We have Demi Lamas, former FIU Beta Gamma Sigma Chapter President, who is a current law student at FIU's College of Law, and Alberto Garcia Marrero, former graduate school representative for FIU's Beta Gamma Sigma Chapter, and current law student as well at FSU's College of Law. I would now like to ask all the panelists to introduce themselves to those who are in attendance. Talk about your current position or school that you are attending, when you became a BGS member, what school you became a BGS member at, and what your field of study was and why. And what did you know about BGS before you were invited and joined?
Do you want me to get started, David?
Yeah, that would be great.
Sure, I can do that. My name is Bill Hardin. I'm the Associate Dean for the Chapman Graduate School of Business. I was initiated into Beta Gamma Sigma at Georgia State University, where at that time I was studying and had completed my master's in real estate and a PhD in business administration in finance and real estate. Prior to that, I had gotten an international MBA from University of South Carolina. But as an undergrad, I did not study business. I studied economics in the College of Arts and Sciences with actually a double, if not a triple major in political science and English. So I came to business later. I'm very familiar with Beta Gamma Sigma. My mother graduated with highest honors in the first class at Emory University College of Business that allowed women with highest honors, and was a member of Beta Gamma Sigma from that point onward. And she ultimately became a CPA with a master's in business administration as well. So very familiar with Beta Gamma Sigma. I think people in business understand what it takes to get in to the society, the achievement it is. And, you know, I always like to commend people who get it early in their career. I had to get a PhD to get mine. If you get a PhD in business, you're automatically accepted into Beta Gamma Sigma. Otherwise, you have to have a high GPA and things like that. Let's just, well, I was not a business undergrad, but I wouldn't have had a high enough GPA anyway. I'll turn it over and maybe let Demi or whoever wants to go next.
Ladies first, Demi.
Hi, I'm Demi Lamas, and I became a BGS member my junior year of undergrad at FIU. I majored in international business and real estate, and now I'm in my first year of law school. And I did a double major with real estate because that's the kind of law I want to practice. But in BGS, I learned how to be a leader, and it really showed me from something I didn't know what it was before I got the invitation. I had to research it, and I saw all the benefits it had and the community that it built, and it was just, I knew I wanted to be a part of that.
Hi everyone, my name is Alberto Garcia Marrero. So I joined BGS my junior year as well. It's a relatively newer chapter at FIU. I studied international business and undergrad at FIU. I think Demi and I were probably part of the second class of BGS, so it was relatively new and it's a great program. We've won some of the best awards, which is great. So I didn't really, like Demi, I didn't really know about BGS. I learned about it when I got the invitation to join. It's the largest business honor society in the world. And so that is something that was tremendous. It opened up a lot of networking opportunities and other opportunities that I'll get to talk about later on in the panel. But I am also in my first year of law school at FSU, and it being a member of BGS really does help you to prepare you, like I was talking to Demi about earlier, to face some of the more challenging parts of academia or the professional world.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And so we also have two of our e-board members here, Monica and Veronica. They'll be kind of here to help answer questions along with Celine. And also they'll post like our social media handles and information so you guys can contact us with anything. So if you guys could go briefly introduce yourselves, and then I'll go over to the next questions.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Veronica Fernandez-Barquin. I am the BGS Graduate School representative, and I'm so excited to be here. And just another round of applause for all our guest speakers. Thank you so much for being here.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Monica, and I'm the VP of Finance, and I'm also an MBA candidate at FIU in the online program.
Thank you. And so this question is going to be for Dr. Hardin. So from your perspective as an associate dean and professor and expert in real estate, what can you tell us about some of the strengths of BGS students that are getting ready to go out into the real world, especially given this COVID-19 climate with a lot of uncertainty, a scarce job market, people laid off. So please share your thoughts on what you think about this.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting time for us. When I graduated undergrad from college, the unemployment rate was 10.5%, and we were in a recession. So I had a couple of job offers. I was not excited about either of the two. I had one, in retrospect, would have been a great opportunity. The company grew very quickly, but at the time was kind of a medium-sized firm. So I went to grad school, and when I got out, the job market was a lot better. So it kind of worked out that way because there was pent-up demand for hiring professionals. And so what happened was during kind of the slow period, when I was in school, the first year, it was a 2-year program, the market wasn't as good. And I think that's similar to what's happening now. I think people are trying to hire when they can, except there's just uncertainty and they don't really know how to do it. The HR departments are not as good. The recruiting teams are not as comfortable working with Zoom and other technologies. But my guess is that it's just a matter of time before they turn the switch and then all of a sudden they're going to have a shortage because most firms have turnover. People go and then they find better things to do or different things to do. You can see this in the accounting firms, you can see it in banking, you can see it in finance. So there's a lot of turnover in the first 3, 5, even 7 years. And if you don't hire people, then all of a sudden you need people. And so what's going to happen, I think, with regard to COVID-19 is that once we turn the corner, people are going to sit down there and say, I need people. And those people aren't going to be sitting in a desk down the hallway. They may be, sitting at home working. They may be someone that they've been thinking about or talking to, and they make that commitment. So I actually think the market will kind of work itself out. I know there's a lot of concern there. My nieces and nephews are all of the age of getting employed for the first time. And some are doing better than others in that search. Some have had jobs rescinded. Some have actually started from home. So I think that's better than in the past. But I think if I look at the people in this organization, they're the ones that once they set their sights, they're going to achieve it. I think everyone wants smart, motivated people, curious people, people who are interested in learning new things, because that's how you get ahead. I think there's a tremendous concern nonetheless, because people are stuck at home. They can't network. We have the same issue when we look at FIU and do recruiting, which is how do we actually see and meet with people? So there's some concern there. So I guess that's kind of a kind of broad brush at it. There are firms hiring. I think the real uncertainty is what is the hiring process? And I think that's still uncertain because people are so used to one-on-one contact, talking with people, having them in the office, kind of, seeing how they act and interact. And I think that's what's missing. Zoom is great for maintaining relationships. I don't know that it's great for creating new ones. We can do it, but I think it's new to us. But I will say, I think it'll make us more productive. We see it in law, where people are actually doing some court sessions are now done by Zoom. We see it in business, where we have conferences that are now virtual. But that's still, to me, a maintenance mindset as opposed to a create network mindset. But if you're in Beta Gamma Sigma, you're already in a great network. The people who are in it understand the skill sets and the ability you have. So you already have set yourself apart. And I think anyone who aspires to be in business wants to be in that subset of achievers. Once you get in, you can decide what you want to do in a career and just kind of, get in that front door. But if it's new, I will tell you, I remember getting my first job. I was nervous until I got it. So, I mean, business, professional job, because it's out there. It's just sometimes uncertain as to when it'll happen.
Awesome. Sounds great. So I kind of now want to go to the two current students, Alberto and Demi, and kind of ask them, already having been in a very competitive business program, and, you were good enough to get the distinction of being Beta Gamma Sigma. What did you see in other peers of yours that were Beta Gamma Sigma and yourself? And how do you think, your drive and your motivation helped get you to where you are now, which are, two law students? Alberto, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start. You definitely do see a difference, even in competitive programs such as FIU, right? We saw a big difference, or at least I did, between students who really just wanted to get their degree. And so you're always going to get that no matter what university you go to. You're going to have students that really are there for a degree because they're looking to get a better job, or you're going to have students that are really driven and really motivated who then end up joining these kind of organizations. And so I also saw that difference in my MBA program as well. A lot of the people who were very much like myself, driven and motivated and did well within the MBA program also ended up joining Beta Gamma Sigma at the graduate level as well. And so you do see that distinction. But the program also offers a lot of opportunities to get even better, right? As Dean Hardin said, there's a lot of networking opportunities. There's a lot of other opportunities as well as part of being in the program. I myself got an ethical certification through Beta Gamma Sigma that's offered through the organization. So that's something that really helps you stand out as an asset going into the workforce, right? I'm in law school now, but I'm going to be graduating law school, having this kind of experience, having this greater network that'll help me get these kind of jobs that some of my peers now may not get if they want to go into corporate law or big law or work with a Fortune 500 company, for example. And so these are the kind of things that really set you apart and help you build yourself as a professional.
Thank you, Alberto. Demi?
Yeah, I also did the ethical leadership certification, and BGS taught me a lot about leadership. Even if someone doesn't have an e-board position, just certain networking events and community service events that we do, it teaches you and gives you experience on how to be a leader. Like we did junior achievement, where our students went to underprivileged schools and they taught a class on an elementary school class about financial literacy. And that alone, those kind of experiences, you're helping the community and you're building yourself to be a better professional and a better leader, which is going to help you in your future, because you're going to build the confidence you need to be able to push yourself to do the next thing and to do what's harder. And that's also what separates someone who's super successful and someone who's just settling for a diploma. And BGS helps with that a lot. Also, the community that you have, everyone that I've met that's in BGS has always been really encouraging and has been wanting to help and eager to help. And that's a great thing as well.
Thank you. And then now going back to Dr. Hardin. So obviously somebody who got many degrees, went on to get their PhD and has now been very successful. As an undergraduate student, let's go back to that. What were some of the things that were going on in your mind in terms of what was driving you, what motivated you to want to go and get these degrees and to do all these really difficult and impressive things?
Well, I, of course, got a degree before the PC existed. So, it was all kind of thinking of what the future is, just kind of dating myself there. But I think what was always of interest to me was learning something new. And to be curious and to kind of think, how do things work? I went to the International Business Program at South Carolina, the graduate program there, primarily because I thought, what would be a challenge to me? I had studied languages for years, primarily French, but I switched to the Portuguese track. And part of the reason I went to that program was I wanted to make sure I was proficient in a foreign language. I wanted to learn a different culture. The program at the time included a 10-month internship in Brazil. And I think that's what kind of drove me to that program, and then different things I've done in banking before I got my PhD, which is just, how do things work? What makes it happen? And what you find out over time is that everybody's not curious. Everybody's not interested in that. And everybody's not even interested necessarily in doing better in what they're doing today. When I look at people that work for me, the number one thing that I look at is initiative and a willingness to take ownership of what they're responsible for. And I know with Beta Gamma Sigma, most of the people already know how to do that, to take ownership, to make things happen. But I will tell you, having been in different stages of my career in different areas, a lot of people, most of the people are not interested in that. But if you have those attributes, in the end, you will be successful, because the best people that work for me are the ones where we talk about it and we do it and we decide and they go and they make it happen. And they don't need a roadmap. They just need a direction. They need to be helped. But they make it happen. And I think that's kind of the characteristic that you get to be in Beta Gamma Sigma or any leadership position, is a willingness to take ownership that something happens, because it's easy to show up. It's hard to put the show on the road. That's why Celine, I always joke with Celine, I go, it's always easier for me to show up than to actually organize a meeting, because you have to have an outcome and an agenda, what you want to achieve. So I know that's long-winded, but I really appreciate, and I can name 10 or 15 people over my career who, when they took ownership of something, whether it's nonprofit, volunteer, event, you name it, business, and you could forget about it. Those were I can name them. There's so few that really took that ownership. And luckily I work with a number of those people at Chapman and in the College of Business, which is great for me. They just say, I got it. And then I go, okay, I turn it off. I literally can turn it off. I don't think about it again.
Thank you. I think those are some really great points. And kind of going back to what you said about taking ownership, I think that's a really important thing for all students to do in this day and age, especially with how competitive everything is. And I'm going to now ask Demi a question, just because she was in my position last year. So as far as being involved in many things, a few leadership positions, and now law student, immediately after graduation, this is a person that's taking ownership of their life, doing things for themselves, and, have plans to do good for society. So were there any defining moments or things that you enjoyed in BGS, and things that required you to get out of your comfort zone and take that ownership and lead other people?
Well, when I took the role as the BGS president, we didn't have an e-board at all. We just had the honor society, but we didn't have an actual chapter in our school. So that in itself was a challenge, because I had to gather people, get the word out, and build it from scratch. So when we had the induction ceremony, and I saw everyone there, and we put it together, and then we even were able to get the BGS CEO to attend, that was a moment that I was like, wow, we're doing this, and we did this. And that made me feel really confident in the organization, how we were gonna be able to grow.
Yeah, awesome. That's definitely huge. And thank you for setting this up for us, and also having gotten BGS the highest honors recognition, as well as a chapter. And now for Alberto, so I know you did a lot of things as an undergrad, did a lot of leadership positions, and I know that you also recently got involved in a program, which is definitely something that is very, as far as taking ownership of your life, empowering and encouraging others to do great things. Can you elaborate on that a little bit for everybody here?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to go into detail about undergrad because it was a lot, but I ended up joining the e-board for BGS when I was doing my graduate degree at FIU. That was an opportunity that I didn't have in undergrad again because Demi, like how Demi was saying, it was relatively new, and so I was able to jump on board at that point. But yeah, so I think BGS helps to create that interest in people and also in giving back. And so that's something that I did, right? I chose to give back at an early age. And so I worked with FIU and the foundation to create a new program to help young alums to be able to give back. I personally created my own scholarship for international business students, but it also creates a pathway for alumni to be able to create their own impact and to give back in their own way, whether it's the College of Business, the College of Medicine, whatever the case might be. And I think that these are traits that you see in BGS members, right? That ability, that empathy, that feeling of giving back, of being involved with your school and wanting to continue on after you leave, right? I mean, Demi and I are both in the thick of it in law school, and here we are because we care about our institution. And that was the kind of impact that we saw from BGS, right? Being that involved and being a part of something that felt greater than either of us helps you to build those kind of skills or those qualities.
Awesome. That's really huge and awesome. So now going back to Dr. Hardin. So as the Associate Dean for Chapman Graduate School, obviously you see a lot of students coming in every year. When you see BGS students coming in, do you see a direct advantage, in admissions, scholarships, and then overall performance once they're in their respective program?
Well, that's a good question. I couldn't give you an immediate answer on that. I think the ones that are active, sometimes when you get people and you talk to the program directors, you talk to Angel Burgos, you talk to everybody, one of the things that does come up is who are the leaders who take ownership. And, as we can tell with, Veronica and Monica here, we have those students who take that initiative. So I think that's the positive component to it. But I think it's hard for me to say. We just have different programs and people, the MBA, the real estate, and I think the beauty of FIU is that we allow people to kind of identify where they think they're going to be interested, and then move around and get a skill set. But I will tell you that the ability to get things done, which is a trait of the BGS group in general, is one that bodes well for graduate school, and it bodes well long-term in the career. I think people get concerned about the initial job or the A, B, C, X, Y, Z. But I think in the end, what you need to do is find something you're passionate about, that you're interested in, and you'll be more successful. If you look at most of the incomes that people make over the long term, they kind of even out, except for maybe a couple of professions that are outliers. So if you're at the mid-level or the high level of those positions, whether it's HR or in banking or whatever, you tend to make a similar level of income. So why not do what you want or find what you're interested in doing? Because you're going to be doing it a long time, unless you somehow go into hedge fund management and retire when you're 40, which is good too, but that's like 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000. So I guess that's about it.
Thank you.
David, if I can add to that real quick, just briefly, I can't stress that point enough to really pursue something that you're passionate about and that you love. I mean, we have studies in the legal profession that show that lawyers who actually pursue what they want not only are more successful within law school, but in their entire career. And I think that that's something, especially for a profession that's so stress driven, that is so important. So for any of our attendees who might want to pursue that career path, I think that that's something to keep in mind. And in any career path, if you really pursue something you're passionate about and that you like, I definitely do agree with Hardin that you're going to be much more successful.
I'll make a comment on the honors colleges around. It's interesting if you go to the honors college at FIU, you go to the one at UF, South Carolina, all the larger ones, the majority or a large portion, but in many of these, the majority of students who come in the honors college as freshmen identify that they want to go to medical school. Okay, after the first semester, it drops off dramatically. Okay, and then after the next semester, it drops off even more. And part of that is because they know that, you know, in the medical profession, you have status, you typically have a good income and a good lifestyle, but then they realize that that's not where their passion is. I've known a number of the deans of different colleges, honors colleges, and that's the one thing that they all will talk about, which is, you know, everyone comes in and wants to be a doctor. I think at UF it's 65%. And then after the first year, it's about 20%. Because, you know, somebody's good in science or whatever, go be a doctor. Well, go do what you think you want to do, because you'll have, it may be harder, but it might be a lot more fun. Do what makes you want to get up in the morning most of the time. And I say most of the time because you're not going to want to get up in the morning all the time and get in there, especially during COVID-19. You might be a little stressed out, but whether it's law, business, accounting, logistics, I mean, a lot of fun stuff to do.
Awesome. And for those of you guys watching in right now, if you have any questions, please send them in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them. And so now I want to direct the next question to Demi. So as an involved student, I'm sure there had to have been times of stress and maybe a little bit of uncertainty. But I just want to see how you managed with that and what kept you driven. You know, was it the vision ahead? What did you have in mind when you were probably overwhelmed with a lot of things, but you kept going and got the job done?
So two biggest things was to time management and delegating tasks. So for time management, like if you have a million things to do, you need to make a plan for yourself, because if you have, I'll have 3 things to do today, then you're going to be overwhelmed. Like, what do I do? But if like, okay, if I do this thing by noon, this thing by 3, and then you could have it all done. So I have my planner, my calendar, and everything is organized. So everything gets done when it's supposed to get done. And the other thing is delegate. Sometimes we think that we can do it all and that we'll do it the best, but that's how you get overwhelmed. You need to have your team be like, okay, you have this task, you get this task. We'll meet back here tomorrow. Let's see how everyone did. So before I just thought, okay, I'll just do everything. And I felt bad, like giving people tasks, but that's what you have to do. So you could have the best outcome for your group. So those are my 2 things. I learned how to delegate and time management. And once I figured those out, everything was much easier for me.
That's awesome. So I definitely think that that's something that all student leaders should keep in mind is in terms of, you know, making sure that you're all planned out, that you have, you know, your team working and cooperating with you. And I definitely have had that support. So that's definitely helped out a lot. I have a question here in the chat from Megan. How do I get involved in a BGS leadership role? So if either of you 2 want to go ahead and answer, that'd be great. Demi, Alberto?
I'm probably going to defer to Demi on this. So my role was a little bit more unorthodox. Professor Rooms, who is the faculty advisor for the organization, I had worked with him for a competition before, and Dr. Warnick, and so he knew me. And when I started my MBA at FIU, he pretty much told me, he's like, you need to join, you need to get involved. We need somebody like you on the e-board. And so I worked with Demi and I interviewed and I went through that process, but it was a little bit more unorthodox than you typically would go to. So I'll definitely defer to her for that.
So mine was also unorthodox because I created the e-board, but the way that we recruited members would go once a semester or once a year, depending on what we needed. We would announce it on our social media, send out an email, and then once people would apply, and then we would hold like a meeting to get all the information. So you would have to contact your president, who is David Garcia, right here. And you can reach out to them, or they'll reach out, and then you guys could follow their enrollment process.
I would say you need to be also, there's nothing wrong with being proactive. I think we think that someone's I'm a great person, somebody's just gonna identify that I can do the job or I can be the ideal candidate. And one of the things I learned back in banking for what is now Bank of America, there was a position I really thought I'd be interested in doing, but it was kind of outside my typical duties because it was more in community development for the state of Georgia at the time. And it was a job that had a high profile, but it was totally different from my background in corporate banking and in real estate lending. But I knew all the people, and I kind of talked to one or two people, but I didn't really say, hey, I'm interested in that. And it was the wake-up call that I had, you know, after they put another person in that position, ultimately became head of what is now Bank of America of Florida, the president of the, I don't know, at the time, state of Florida group, because that person asked for it and said, I want it. It's really something I want to do. And most people just assumed I was not interested in doing it because I was doing something else that, you know, worked out fine. But I really learned there, someone's not just going to come find you. You need to be found. You need to make it easy. You need to be the one that gets, that's on the, that they know you're interested. You may not get it, but hey, even in corporate America, even in investment banking, even in law, if you're a partner, you don't want to offer somebody a position. If you're a principal and get turned down because whatever, you have an ego. You want to say, I want this person, they want to work with me or work with my team. So be proactive. I mean, truthfully, it's kind of counter to what a lot of people learn in academia, K through 12 and college, because, you know, if you do well, they kind of find you. But the truth of the matter is, make it easy to get found. Make it easy for someone to know that you're interested or motivated or want to make a change. You know, I'm the associate dean now because I didn't want the job. I wasn't looking for it, but Dean Lee broke my arm twisting it so hard 3 times week after week, come in and talk to me, that I just assumed that I had to do it because I enjoyed what I was doing. But if you're interested, they're just not, make it easy.
To add to that, it really is a lot about how you brand yourself as well. You really do have to put yourself out there, and not just put yourself out there, but put yourself out there in a way that will shine positively on you. So what I spoke about earlier today, that was something that kind of, they found me because I put myself out there, because I give off this sense of I'm somebody that's willing to give back. I'm somebody that's prepared to go that extra mile if I have to work with them on something like this. And so I was very fortunate to get that opportunity to help develop this new program through the FIU Foundation. And so that is something that definitely everybody should be doing, right? Branding yourself in a way that will attract people to you based on what it is that you want, like Dean Hardin is saying, right? If you want to be a leader in a leadership position, yeah, be proactive and email people, but also make yourself the kind of leader that people are going to be able to notice out there, that then opportunities will come to you as well.
Yeah, I think that's right on the money. In terms of branding yourself, especially during this time, you know, like things keep getting more scarce, everything's more competitive. You know, and everybody nowadays, like you look at every resume, everybody has leadership positions, community service, but you have to really make yourself known in the community that you currently exist in. And, you know, word eventually will get out. And, you know, being that BGS is fairly new and it started with Demi, like creating the e-board. One of the things that we really want to try to get involved in, especially when it's safe to do so, is community service. And so both Demi and Alberto and also Dr. Hardin can talk about community service that they've done, why they think it's important to give back, and, you know, also some of the things that it does for you in terms of building character and giving you a new perspective into other people's lives.
And so BGS has a lot of community service opportunities, one of them being junior achievement, like I mentioned earlier. And it's important to give back to your community because at one point or another, you were at the receiving end, whether you knew it or not. So it's important to give back because that's how things grow. If you benefited so much from something, like Alberto benefited from FIU and now he's giving back, so another student could be successful. Like, it's really important to do.
That's interesting, Demi. My older sister worked with Junior Achievement. Or they came to her school and they started a business, learned how to run it. I guess in the end, it worked well for her. She ended up studying business in college and actually has done very well. But it was more like, you know, what is business? And it was, how do you do it? And you do X. And at the end of the day, do you have money left over? So very much a learning experience for her. And, you know, she is probably the person in my family that gives back the most, just because, you know, that's just inherent in her personality. But I will say, whether it's working with volunteer groups that are like Habitat for Humanity that we work with, or whether it's Urban Land Institute, where I've been on the advisory board, or academic areas that I work in, probably, or, you know, I've been on different foundation boards as well. They're actually a lot more fun than my day-to-day job, because you do get to give back and you realize that you can make a difference every day. And a lot of these causes are run by volunteers. They're run by people raising money. And, you know, giving, it's a multiplier effect that you get back. And I think if anyone, you know, if you think of anybody who's happy, pretty much, that, you know, by and large, they're givers. They're people who volunteer, whether it's at church, whether it's at FIU, whether it's with other family, they're the one that everyone comes to, because it is a multiplier. And by work and having a career, that just facilitates having the opportunity to participate in these type of activities to make a difference. And I think that, you know, you can be the CEO of a major corporation. That's pretty isolating. So maybe it's good to have a more balanced approach.
It definitely is a ripple effect, and that's something that I've noticed throughout my undergraduate career and moving onward. So I was involved with a lot of community service at FIU. I'm going to do a shameless plug for the Center for Leadership and Service. It's a great way to get involved with community service. BGS, of course, offers a lot of opportunities like Demi mentioned, but there are other opportunities out there for you as well, for attendees to be able to get involved. I used to do the Martin Luther King Day of Service every year. And every year we picked different schools within the Miami community, and we would paint them, and we would paint murals, and we would beautify them. And it was a great thing because, you know, you had this feeling of knowing that these students are going to come in the very next day when school started again, and they would say, wow, somebody cared enough to come here and paint my school or plant these trees or whatever the case might be. And that's something that sticks with students. I had something like that in my middle school here in Miami. Well, I'm not in Miami, but I feel like I'm still in Miami. And so that's something that stuck with me. So that feeling I knew is exactly what those kids would be feeling. And so it really does, it is a blessing, and it is a tremendous ripple effect, right? It's not just about monetary giving, right? That's an aspect of my philanthropy, but there's also giving your time. I think that plenty of us have time to spare, right? You might give up a day going to the beach to do something like this. You're not missing much by not going to the beach for a day, but you're creating a tremendous impact on people's lives that can then go on and become successful, and they might be impacted to do something similar. And so it's this great ripple effect that I think is what really makes community service a tremendous asset to yourself, especially going into the corporate world where corporate social responsibility is such a big thing now.
Thank you, Alberto. I think those are some really good points. And especially in terms of giving back, you know, volunteering your time to help somebody else out. And not to get too much off track, but like, since we are in Suicide Awareness Month, you know, you never know, just the smallest act, the smallest little thing could forever change someone's life, and they may go on to be, you know, the next, you know, senator, president, CEO of a big corporation that then, you know, remembers that person helping them and giving back, and then later goes on to, you know, create more impact in society by themselves giving back. So this is going to be for Dr. Hardin. so corporate social responsibility is a really big thing nowadays. And BGS does focus on that as well, being, responsible in every manner, in every possible way. Can you talk a little bit more how important that is in the workforce?
Well, I think if you look at most corporations, they recognize the fact that they're part of a community. I came out of the banking area, and banking has changed a lot over the years, but fundamentally it's a business that interacts at all levels of business, small business, medium size, multinational firms. So they're all rooted in the community. So they're all pretty much dependent on having a successful community, whether it's in the schools, whether it's in outcomes, you name it, they're involved. The same way in real estate. Real estate is location dependent. So you can't move your building, you can't move the city that you work in. So you have to be a steward of that city, so to speak. So you see a lot of people in the real estate industry being very active in the community, because real estate as an industry is dependent in large part on the community where the real estate is located, and whether it's successful socially, advancing everyone to the highest level they can achieve, providing social services and infrastructure for long-term, human capital growth. So I think at the end of the day, you have to think kind of like Henry Ford did years ago when he started paying his employees a certain amount of money, because he recognized that the people working for him building cars needed to earn enough money to be able to buy what he was selling. And the more people who could buy what he was selling, the better the community would be. They would have more resources. So I think if you take that in a broader context, the best that Miami can be, the best that Florida can be, is really dependent on creating the ability for people who live here to succeed. That doesn't necessarily mean being the CEO of a company. It doesn't mean everything. It just means live up to their potential to be the best, whatever they want to be, whether that's teaching school, whether that's in nursing, whether that's in starting their own business. It's living out their dream, so to speak, and giving them the infrastructure and the ability and the support to do that. And I think David was very right when he mentioned you never know when a kind word might be needed. So I think the other thing that we ought to think about is being empathetic towards people. Anytime you're frustrated with somebody, you never know, something really bad might have happened to them that previous day or the week before. They may be under stress. I think that's what we learned in COVID-19 time, is that we recognize stress, and we recognize that part of what we can do is just help people recognize the fact that at the end, our goal is to help them succeed in whatever way they choose. I know we talk about business, but there's more to life than business. And there's even more to life than law, just to let you guys know there. So,
thank you. I don't think it could have been put any better. And now Veronica, that's here in attendance with us, she's very active with corporate social responsibility, works in HR, and really wants to implement ways to get BGS members and other College of Business members involved in these good practices and things that they can carry for the rest of them. So for people that might be incoming and later, when we do have some positions open up on the e-board, Veronica is going to be a great person to go to sort of get that right mindset and to help develop the right leaders that we need. So Veronica, if you want to say a few words about that.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for attending. I feel a little bit embarrassed. Monica reminded me that I'm also an MBA student. I was originally out from the Brickell campus. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we are now virtual. And so I currently work in human resources. And so it's kind of hard to also follow up because Dean Hardin, you did a fabulous job. So I'm gonna try to see what you didn't cover, no offense. So in corporate social responsibility, or when you were in high school, community service hours, volunteering, it has a lot of amazing effects. Like Dean Hardin had said, you have an impact in your local community. From a human resources standard, it's a great opportunity to go beyond your comfort zone, to learn new skills, transferable skills. As a human resources person, I do more employee relations, but when I have time, I do a lot of volunteering. Just like one of the speakers had said about the Center for Leadership and Service here at FIU, if you track your hours, you do qualify for the Civic Engagement Medallion. Yes, I'm going to be pushing that out there. So I really recommend it. I enjoyed my time getting ready for the certificate along with the medallion. I just submitted on Friday my application, so waiting to hear back. But it's a great opportunity. If you have decided to, maybe once you graduate, you get your first job, maybe you want to go into another industry, I always recommend try volunteering, because you start learning transferable skills. If you're not able to be hired in that industry, you have an opportunity to get accustomed to the industry. You know, a lot of organizations and companies really appreciate volunteers taking the time to help. I myself have been a member of United Way of Miami-Dade County, Relay for Life of Kendall, currently Beta Gamma Sigma. But I really do recommend it. If you have a passion, if you've ever wanted to make some sort of change in the community, you know, if there's something you're proud of, maybe it's American Heart Association, maybe you want to impact by giving back to the environment, you want to help clean the beaches. There's always different organizations and nonprofits. All you have to do is your research and pick up the phone and just ask, do you have committee members? Is there an executive board? You know, it's not just donating money, you can also donate your time and your skills. So I really recommend, you know, if you're passionate about, let's say, the Adrian Arch Center, maybe you're passionate about, you know, the Everglades, reach out, ask. There's always going to be an organization. I really recommend it. And you really do have an impact. I just went last weekend to Deering Estate to help with the garden. And when I was done volunteering there, I actually brought a trash bag and a grabber picker. And where there's the People's Dock next to Deering Estate, unfortunately there's trash. And I actually ended up picking the trash. I didn't get community service hours out of it, but I wanted to make an impact in the environment. And I saw other people watching me who also made comments about, you know, maybe next Saturday I'll bring my kids and we'll bring trash bags as well. So you never know how you impact someone.
There's just some great points and really selfless acts, Veronica. Thank you for that. You know, beyond, you know, doing things for community service hours, which I know is an important thing to do. You know, you get recognition and certificates and things like that. But really, it should come from your heart and your willingness to want to do it. It shouldn't ever be something that's forced. And I think that the impact and also your happiness is going to be a lot greater when you do it because you want to do it and not for recognition or anything like that. So now that we're getting close to the end, Celine has some questions that she's going to help me with here. So she's going to be asking you guys here to answer those. So Celine.
Hi, everyone. Well, thank you, panelists, for wonderful, wonderful content. I've received a few questions, but I'm going to try to sum them up to, you know, to allow everyone to answer. So we've heard a lot of great stories about time, talent, and treasure, you know, volunteering and academic requirements and achievements. And then, you know, the secret sauce, as Dr. Will Hardin was saying, you know, being proactive and being a leader. So it's kind of an interesting creed when you have both the academic side plus that leadership side. So aside from the requirements of academia, what motivates you outside of, you know, just trying to have that badge or have that pin? What motivates you outside of wanting to be that top percentage?
Something that motivates me is making my family proud. Like, my parents are immigrants and they came to this country to give us like more opportunities. So it's something that like I strive to like live up to just to make them proud of the reason that they came here.
Demi beat me to it. I mean, so yeah, my family are also immigrants. And so that's something that I strive for, right? That sacrifice wasn't wasted, right? That I'm working every day that I can to make an impact because they sacrificed everything to bring me here. But also because I think that everybody should aspire to have some kind of legacy. And that doesn't necessarily have to be an ego-driven legacy. I think that can be a very proactive kind of legacy. in my case, the kind of legacy I want to leave is one of service and one of giving back. And so that's something that I've striven for, and that I continue to strive for, to encourage others to also give back. And that's my main motivation.
I'm gonna kind of close out a little bit that if you think about in your life, most everything that was positive came from somebody volunteering or doing something for you. And so they got something back because they helped you do it. But whether it was sports, whether it was theater, whether it was driving you somewhere, doing the carpool, whether it was your parent who might have been going and making sure things were done at school. These are all just being part of the community. They're not necessarily keeping track. When I think about my mother, it's like we were talking about it over the last weekend with my sisters. We laughed. My mother would always volunteer for the school or the whatever. And there were certain days when she would be out at night and we would have to have these chicken pot pie, frozen Swanson chicken pot pies that when you're 8 or 9 or 10, you knew how to cook. Now, of course, most everybody here is young, so you can't be left alone at 10 or 12. But back in the 70s, that was legitimate. They figured you could take care of yourself, whereas now, well, I guess no one can. So I think that's part of it. It's just to be to think about that and to recognize that really people who helped you, whether it's sports, whether playing soccer when you're 6 years old, no one gets paid to do that for you. No one gets paid for you to be in Scouts if you're doing that. No one gets paid to do all this. So there's so much goodness that comes out of people who volunteer because they like to do it more than anything else. Now, for me, I'll admit that the problem is now I can't go into these high-end restaurants where now they make the chicken pot pie and they put them in the little dishes, and now it's the fancy dish that we know that's really never was the case. But now that's $25. I know you can get that in the frozen aisle of the Publix for a lot less. But to me, every time I think about that, I think about my mother going out to the PTA meeting or going to something during the week. My sisters didn't have that. I remember that. They didn't remember it until later.
We have one more question because we're near the end, but I think this is a short but very interesting question. What's next for you? This goes to our panelists, including Dr. Hardin. What's next?
Do you want me to answer that?
It's to all
Our
panelists.
goal is to get through COVID-19, and I think we're all learning the new normal and what it's going to take. And I think we just as a community and as a country and as a world have to figure out what it is. I think it's interesting to figure out that there was so much research on pandemics. There was so much out there saying we know what's going to happen in the future. We know what's going to happen, and it did happen. Were we as a world, as a group of countries, ready for it? And then trickles down to at some point we're going to have kind of a understanding of the risks that are involved, whether we have a vaccine or not. It's not going to go away tomorrow. So I think everybody's concerned about it. So for me, it's just figuring out what that new normal is, whether it's business or whether it's going on vacation or whatever we feel comfortable doing. And I think there are a lot of people out there who are very concerned. And when we talk to faculty and students, there's some that are just almost petrified to come out of their house. And there's risk, but I think there's also the mental health component of that, which is understanding what those risks might be, especially in Miami-Dade, Broward, and even Palm Beach counties in South Florida. And I don't know, is Alberto, where are you? Are you in Tallahassee? Are you?
I am in Tallahassee.
Okay, so your distance, you actually moved there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So same question.
Monica, where are you?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, well, we know they don't have coronavirus in Texas.
We've got enough of it.
Oh, I'm kidding. My wife's family, whole family's from Texas, so yeah.
Former Floridian.
Okay, all right.
So the question is also for Alberto and Demi. What's next for you?
So for me, it's law school. I'm going to continue that and learning how to be more independent. Now it's like actual adulthood and like how to be my own person. So that's what's next.
So for me, that question kind of reminds me of something Matthew McConaughey said at one of the Oscars, which is, you know, always look to yourself 10 years from now, right? Like you're never really where you want to be. And I think that that's great, right? Always look forward to something else in life and have a goal that you're never really reaching because you're always aspiring to something else. So for me, what's next is to finish law school. What the next summer brings all depends on COVID, whether I get to extern here at the Supreme Court or go back to Miami and work with a law firm. It all depends on how we move forward in the next few months.
Thank you, everyone. Well, this was all great. I'm so thankful that everybody was able to make it out here, and even despite the restrictions due to the circumstances, you know, we're still making things like this happen. We're all learning from each other, sharing our experiences. So this is all great. Please keep up with us, email us, follow us on social media, connect on LinkedIn. All of this stuff is on the chat. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you guys want to see anything done through the BGS chapter or here at our college, just let us know, and we'll do our best to get back to you and make things happen. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next time.